Guys, Islam Makhachev's coach Javier Mendez has stated that he believes that Islam Makhachev is capable of moving up to the middleweight division and even become the champion. And that's what he says. The statement is like, I 100% feel like Islam can be the middleweight champion if that's what he wanted to do. I see it in the gym. I know that's how good this guy is. 185 is not going to be an issue for him. Now, this is Javier Mendez. He's the head coach of the academy that Islam is training in, and he's that confident about Islam moving to middleweight. And just to bear in mind, Islam is a lightweight right now. He's fighting at 155, and he's going to be fighting guys at 185 if he moves up to middleweight. So that's 30 pounds of extra muscular weight that he has to gain to actually be able to fight those guys. So we don't really know how Islam is going to look at middleweight, but I will just go through the whole list of the middleweights from number 1 to number 15 to actually see how Islam is stylistically do against those matchups. So I will start from number 15 actually. So number 15, you have Michel Pereira. I think Islam completely destroys Michel Pereira. We have seen Michel Pereira just getting overwhelmed when somebody actually starts putting a pace on them. Now, Islam is not like a volume striker, but Islam is a great grappler. And he puts a lot of pressure when he's grappling. And we've seen Michel Pereira actually struggling against the grapplers. He does not have the best takedown defense. We saw him in the last fight against Anthony Hernandez. He got completely outclassed on the ground. Got taken down so many times. Like, I can see him doing well against Islam in probably the first round or the second round. But Islam is also a very established striker. Like Michel Pereira, he comes up with like crazy sort of stuff. Islam Makhachev does not have it, but he does have the basics. I think he's going to be able to protect himself and shoot for the takedowns when he can. Because Michelle actually gives you a lot of openings to shoot for the takedowns. He's always coming up like out of pocket stuff, does like a spinning kick, or like he does like a lot of backflips in the fight. Who does that? And after first round or second round, he's going to be extremely tired, and that's what he does. And I also expect Islam to actually be faster than these guys to be able to see stuff because he's seen the speed at 155. 155ers are much faster than 185ers. So I see Islam actually be very fast. And we've seen Islam, even strength wise, is a pretty strong guy. So I'm pretty sure he can handle like some of those guys. We've seen him grappling with Luke Rockhold in the gym. And we've seen him like doing the deadlifts and stuff. He's pretty strong. Second matchup, number 14, is Shara Magamadov. So Shara Magamadov again, beautiful striker, but I think Islam just runs through him. The reason being, Shara does not have like the takedown defense. I know he's trying to improve it, but he only had like three fights in the UFC, and we saw him like in the first fight he was getting taken down by not such a good grappler. Striking wise, Shara is like one of the best. I think on the feet, Islam is no match for him. It's going to be very hard because Shara is a longer guy, taller guy. He's just a more flashy sort of striker, but I think Islam is just going to be able to shoot the takedown, take him down, and then finish him. And then you have Anthony Hernandez. Now, I was watching the last fight of Anthony Hernandez against Michel Pereira. Anthony Hernandez has got good takedowns. He's got good grappling, but I don't think he's a big middleweight. I think he's not. He's more like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu sort of guy. He's not gonna be able to shoot on Islam and actually take him down. So Islam can actually, I can see Islam actually keeping the fight on the feet, and then take him down when Islam actually wants to. And I don't know how Anthony Hernandez is from his back. Like it's another thing to do jiu-jitsu from the top position when you're actually on top of your opponent. Then you can do set up the punches, set up the submissions using your punches. But when you're at the bottom, that's the only problem. That's the hard part. So I don't see Anthony Hernandez actually beating Islam Makhachev. I think even on the feet, Islam is a much cleaner striker. I saw him striking with Michel Pereira. Anthony Hernandez is good, but I don't think he's at the caliber of Islam Makhachev, and he's not necessarily like a big middleweight. So I don't think he would give like he could. He's not one of those middleweights who could just manhandle Islam. He's not going to be able to do it. Then you have Jack Hermanson. Now Jack Hermanson could be a big middleweight, and Jack Hermanson actually has decent. He is pretty decent wrestling, and he's decent Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Plus his striking is decent. That's the guy that I see is Makhachev actually struggling with, and he's pretty big as well. So I think that could be the fight. That could be difficult for Islam. For Islam, the path to victory I see is probably going to be the speed because Islam is coming from middleweight division. He has seen speed from guys like Dustin Poirier, Alexander Volkanovski. He was able to keep up the striking with them. So not get taken down by Jack Hermanson. I think Islam can defend the takedowns. Islam doesn't necessarily have to take him down because it's going to be very hard to actually take Jack down. We saw Hamza Shemaev was grappling with Jack Hermanson. Hamzat was able to outgrapple him because, of course, Hamzat's got size. But even Hamzat was kind of struggling at the end to finish the takedown. So Islam, he doesn't necessarily have to like shoot for the takedowns. Maybe mix it up to keep Jack guessing. Just catch him off guard, maybe. But Islam is not going to be able to like impose his will on Jack because the size difference is going to be massive. But I can see Islam just staying on the feet, just staying sharp. Jack is not going to be able to finish the takedown on Islam. But then Islam has to be careful with striking as well because Jack is a big guy. So, but that's a match that I see could be hard for Islam. If I have to pick one person, I would say Islam can potentially beat Jack Hermansson as well. But I think it would be like a difficult fight. Then number 11, we have Paulo Costa. I think that might be one of the hardest fights for Islam at middleweight because Paulo, his striking is very good, and Paulo is so big for the weight class. Like he barely makes 185. He could fight. He could easily fight at 205. He's 6'3". He's got like great reach advantage in his stomach. He's just massive, and he throws like a lot of kicks. And he puts a lot of pressure on, and Paulo can actually go for like 5 rounds. And Paulo actually is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And Paulo has a very decent takedown defense. We saw Yoel Romero taking him down, but that was like at the end of the fight. He was a hard guy to get taken down. Even Luke Rockhold couldn't really take him down. So that fight, I think, you know what? I don't see Islam beating Paulo Costa. I think 185 is going to be too much. Like Paulo Costa's size of Paulo Costa, I think that's statistically a very, very hard fight for Islam Makhachev. Because taking down Paulo Costa, that would be a nightmare for Islam. Uh, then you have Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze is the guy that I can see Islam Makhachev beating. The only way Islam Makhachev could lose to Roman Dolidze is possibly just try to shoot like a double leg and then give Roman Dolidze the top control after that. Like failing the double leg and then, yeah, because all Islam has to do is to not shoot for any takedowns. Even shoot for any takedowns, and you could take Roman Dolidze down and probably stay on top. But Roman Dolidze is like one of those stacky guys. He doesn't fight tall. He doesn't have the best striking. So I mean, easy way for Islam to victory in that fight is just keep the fight on the feet. To be honest, just use the striking. Roman's striking is very slow. He was getting completely outstruck by Nasruddin Imavo. You don't even have to take him down. But also, if you want to take him down, you can mix it up at the end of the round to stay on top, like throw like ground and pound strikes. Roman Dolidze is not even like the best striker from the he's not the best striker, but also from the back position. He can shoot for like triangles or like arm bars, but it's not as dangerous as when he's on top of you and he's like got the ground control. So I see Islam winning that fight easy. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Then you have Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen, again, he does not have... so Brendan Allen is a different sort of fighter from Roman Dolidze. He does not have the takedown defense. I think that's where Islam can actually explore it. And Brendan Allen is not necessarily like the strongest guy. I think Islam can just take him down and then finish him. Brendan Allen got taken down by Anthony Hernandez, so that is a very winnable fight for Islam Makhachev. Like, Islam can choose to strike on the feet. I think Islam is a much cleaner striker, but at the same time, Islam can just take this fight to the ground and be out of any sort of danger. Then you have Jade Cannonier and number 8. Now, Jade hits very hard, but I think he's slowed down massively. He's like 41 years old, probably like 42 now, and he's not he doesn't have the same reflexes. He probably does not even possess the same sort of power. He could still be dangerous. He still have like one of the best leg kicks, but I think that's where Islam can actually explore it. Like Jared, I can see Jared throwing a leg kick and then Islam just catching and shooting for the takedowns. Jared does not have the best takedown defense. He was getting taken down by Robert Whittaker. And we know Robert Whittaker is nowhere near a wrestler as Islam Makhachev. Now, I know you can have the argument about the size difference. Robert is 185, Islam is 155. But Islam is a strong guy. And the skill difference is big. Islam is a wrestler. Islam is a wrestler who learned striking over time. Robert wasn't a wrestler. He was a striker first, then he learned wrestling. So I can definitely see Islam Makhachev just taking him down and then submitting him, because the thing is, when Robert fought him, Robert had to take him down multiple times to actually get the job done, because he was a wrestler who was doing ground and pound. He did not have like a jiu-jitsu of Islam's level. With Islam's level jiu-jitsu, and especially when you're doing jiu-jitsu with the bigger guys, they're kind of slower as well. I think I can see Islam easily like submitting Jade Cannonier by taking him to the ground. Marvin Vittori. Now Marvin Vettori could be a hard fight because he's a guy with very decent striking and very decent grappling. Now Marvin Vettori does not have the jiu-jitsu to actually compete with Islam, I believe. Takedowns are going to be very hard for Islam because Marvin has like decent takedown defense, and at 155 will be very hard. But Marvin also does not possess like uh, power to knock you out. I've not seen he doesn't get knocked out, but he also does not have the power of like one shot KO. So I can definitely see Islam actually winning the fight on the feet. Marvin being a taller guy could be a problem sometimes, but yeah, Marvin could be like it could be like a very very close fight. It could be a very close fight. I don't see Islam finishing Marvin. I think that would be like a hell of a job because Marvin is just kind of like decent everywhere. But at the same time, I don't see Marvin being quick enough to actually catch Islam and then finishing. Guys, a lot of it is just going to depend on how Islam looks at 185, like himself. So I don't know, putting on extra 30 pounds, is that gonna slow Islam down? How would he actually behave? You might not even know. Like some people, when they actually move up the weight class, they develop like a punching power to actually knock people out. So we don't even know. Islam might just develop like a one shot KO power. He might just look better than he looks at 155. So we have no idea about this one. He might actually get like extra strength from gaining those 20-30 pounds. But one thing I do want to say, I want to see Islam actually doing the transformation for like a year to actually move up to 185. I don't want him to just like really make a move to 185 without any sort of like transformation. I think that might be difficult when he's trading with the guys, let's say, as we move up to the top five in the 185. That might be like a difficult situation for Islam. Okay, so the next guy in at number six is Kai Bohalo. So he's a big dude. That's the thing, and his striking is good. His striking is, I wouldn't say very technical, but it's good, and he hits pretty hard. Like Islam Makhachev cannot afford to get hit by this guy. So I don't know how Islam's chin is gonna hold up as 185. So that's a difficult fight. But at the same time, I can see Islam shooting for the takedowns and being able to take him down because I don't think Barhello necessarily have any sort of like wrestling. I didn't see him shooting for any takedowns against Jared Cannonier, and that would have been a path to victory. So I'm assuming he doesn't have like a wrestling base. So I see Islam just taking him down. I think Islam can finish the takedowns and potentially finishing him. Now we're moving to top five. And if I look at the top five, I think every single matchup, that's where it is going to be. I'm probably going to slightly lean towards other guys, the opponents against Islam. So Nasruddin Imavov, I think that's a nightmare matchup for Islam Makhachev because that's a guy with decent wrestling. Not as good of a wrestling as Islam Makhachev, but decent wrestling and good striking. Now, we know Islam Makhachev has got good striking, so striking can pretty much be neutralized. Islam might have a slightly better striking, actually, but now you're dealing with a big guy. Nasruddin is taller than Islam. He's got reach advantage. He hits harder than Islam. He hits harder than Islam. And he's not going to be easy to take down. That's because Nasruddin, I've seen him taking people down a middleweight. So, and he might even shoot a takedown on Islam at 185. Now, I don't see Nasruddin taking Islam down because I don't think he's got like really high level wrestling. It's pretty like decent sort of wrestling. I could see Islam actually just seeing all the takedowns. But at the same time, he could wear Islam down. And all of the clinch work that Islam does when he comes close to you, he does like thigh clinches and throwing the knees. That's not going to be effective against Nasruddin. Now you're dealing with a bigger guy. And even on the feet, it's going to be very hard for Islam because Nasruddin is a pretty decent striker and he hits very hard. So that fight, I'm going to be slightly in favor of Nasruddin Imavov. Again, I want to see Islam at 185. I want to see what he's capable of doing, but I go slightly in favor of Imavov in that fight. Then you have Robert Whittaker. Again, that fight is going to be very difficult. We saw Hamza Chimaev submitting Robert Whittaker. We saw that. I don't think Islam is going to be able to manhandle Robert Whittaker like this. Hamza Chimaev is a much bigger guy. He's 6'2". He can easily make light heavyweight as well. For Islam to do that, and Islam can shoot for the double legs. We've seen him shooting for the double legs, but he doesn't go that fast for like the double legs. Technical striking, Islam is probably a better striker than Hamza Chimaev. Islam has more technical striking, but does he possess the same sort of power? So technical striking against Robert Whittaker is probably not going to be the best idea because Robert Whittaker himself is such a great striker. He blitzes pretty fast. And I think stylistically, it's just nightmare matchup. Whitaker's a very good anti-wrestler. He's got decent jiu-jitsu. I know it's been undervalued after his last fight against Hamza Chimaev. People are saying that he couldn't defend himself, but if you watch his fights against Igor Romero, he was having hard time to actually take Whitaker down and then controlling him. We saw him not getting submitted by Jacare Souza and actually end up winning that fight. So yeah, Robert Whitaker versus Hamza Chimaev would be an interesting fight. I can see Islam actually in that fight. I can see Islam actually giving him good time though, because Whitaker's not like an extremely tall fighter, so he's 6 feet. He wouldn't have like extreme advantage in terms of like reach. So I could see the fight on the feet maybe, and then Islam shooting the takedowns maybe like at the end of the round, maybe just timing it perfectly. So that fight, I'm not really sure about it. I think I would say 50-50 for that fight. And then Hamza Chimaev. I think Hamza is the nightmare matchup for Islam. That is like the one of the worst matchups. Like it is. Like Hamza is much stronger than Islam, and this is one of the guys that is actually, I would say, maybe not technically, even technically in some of the ways, like he's a better freestyle wrestler than Islam Makhachev. Like the leg takedowns, if you're talking about any of the single legs, double legs, getting the back, uh, Hamza Shemaev is just better than Islam Makhachev in terms of grappling, I would say. Even Jiu-Jitsu has improved a lot. So Jiu-Jitsu, I would say, it might be neutralized because now Hamza Shemaev has improved a lot. But we know Makhachev's Jiu-Jitsu is a top-notch Jiu-Jitsu. So Jiu-Jitsu might be neutralized. Hamza's wrestling is better than Makhachev's. Islam's top work, judo control, judo throws are probably better than Hamza Shemaev. Also, although I do rate Hamza Chimaev for like the top wrestling takedowns as well. I think he's got a nice takedown too, but I don't think anybody's better than Islam when it comes to like judo throws or when it comes to like trips. So Islam's key to victory would be that. Just doing nice clinch work. But again, he's not going to be able to do that to Hamza. Now you're dealing with a guy who's much bigger than you. And anytime you're going to get close to even do the clinch work, he's going to shoot for like a double leg or something. Now the thing is, Islam might be a more technical striker, but Hamza's hits pretty fast, and I think Hamza is faster on the feet than Islam. So you're not even probably gonna have like the speed advantage over here. Hamza might actually catch you even on the feet and potentially knock you out because he's pretty strong. The key to victory for Islam Makhachev is to get Hamza Chimaev tired. We've never seen Hamza get tested for 5 rounds. We've seen him struggling against Gilbert Burns for 3 rounds. I think he would spend a lot of energy in that fight. That was an inexperienced Hamza, so I'm not taking anything away from Hamza. But I'm not sure about his cardio. Like Hamza is one of those guys who's very explosive. He uses all of his energy in like the first and the second rounds. And by the time the fight goes to like later rounds, there is a chance he might get tired. So for Islam, I would say because he's an experienced fighter, he has been in many 5 rounds fights. Just push the fight to like third round or something. Even if you're getting taken down by Hamza, I know Islam is not an easy guy to get taken down. So even though Hamza could take Islam, I know Islam can actually protect himself. So even though you get taken down by Hamza, just get up, and then push the fight to like third round, and then shoot your takedowns as well because you need to keep him guessing, right? Mix up the strikes, mix up the takedowns. It's a grind. It's a grind. If you take the fight to like the third round and then the fourth round, you might see Hamza slowing down, and that's when you can actually capitalize on it. Because if Hamza slows down in the fight, then he's not gonna have the same strength. Then the manhandling sort of thing that is gone out of the equation, and then it's basically just a technique, and that's where Islam can capitalize. But I don't see Islam beating Hamza at 185. Just it's a nightmare matchup, to be honest. And then you have Israel Adesanya. I think that's probably the only winnable match for Islam at 185 in the top five. So Israel Adesanya is the only guy I think he can explore Israel. Or although Israel could be very difficult to get taken down because he's pretty long. Israel is like 6'4", and people don't realize that he probably does not have the best takedown defense in terms of like when you have his legs, he might not have the strongest takedown defense, but it's very difficult to get the legs because it's always in and out, in and out. It's really hard to actually shoot on Israel Adesanya, and he's good at like sprawling. But I think Islam Makhachev is just going to be able to, he's going to be able to manage it. Even during the strides, he can start the clinch work and then trip Israel Adesanya or like shoot for the double legs, and then Islam is gonna finish him pretty quick. Like once it goes to the ground, that's not even competitive. Islam is a black belt, a very high level black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've heard from his camp that he submits guy from ADCC, and Israel Adesanya is just no match on the ground. Then you have Sean Strickland, which is again a hard fight for Islam Makhachev. Very technical on the feet. I don't think staying on the feet is the best idea. Sean, being a bigger fighter, probably not the best KO puncher, but a very technical fighter. So striking gets neutralized, but then you have a bigger guy hitting at you, so you don't want to do striking all the time. What are you going to do? You're probably going to shoot for the takedowns. Sean has very good takedown defense, and we've seen Sean getting taken down sometimes, but then getting back up straight up. I don't see how Islam able to hold him down, and then Sean can actually go for 5 rounds. So I think stylistically, that's Sean Strickland's a very hard matchup. Then you have Dricus Duplessis, which I would say he's as hard of a fight as like Hamza Shemaev for Islam Makhachev. Like Dricus, probably not the cleanest striker, but he's a good striker. He's a very goofy striker, can always come up with something. And Dracus actually can go for 5 rounds, and Dracus actually does hit very hard. So even striking is probably not the best idea. Islam can manage to do that, but again, grappling sequences, like Islam is probably much more technical than Dracus Duplessis in terms of like setting up the takedowns, finishes. Drake has had good takedowns. He does have good defense. I'm not sure about because he got taken down by Robert Whittaker. I don't know. Maybe it was because he wasn't expecting a takedown from Robert Whittaker. I do see Islam taking down Dracus sometimes, but I just don't think it's going to be possible for Islam to actually hold him down because Dracus is very good jiu-jitsu. So I can see like a good fight. I think Islam would have speed advantage. Dracus is sloppy sometimes, but he just moves forward. I think he's gonna wear down on Islam in probably 5 rounds, maybe just potentially. We might see Makhachev getting finished. So I think Islam can beat a lot of guys. He can beat most of the guys at middleweight, but I think he's gonna struggle against the top 5 guys. He'll probably lose to like 5 of the top 6 guys. So top 5, and then you have like the champion. I think he'll lose to probably like 5 of those guys. But again, it depends upon the day as well. It depends upon the day. Like Islam might beat them one day, they might beat Islam one day, and also you don't know what sort of Islam Makhachev is gonna show up. I'm only basing it on the fact that Islam is being a smaller guy at 155 and he's fighting the guys at 185, so he's not going to have the strength advantage, he's not going to have the reach advantage, he's going to struggle with those things, right? I'm only basing it on that argument. We might have a completely different sort of Islam Makhachev showing up, the guy who has like knockout power, the guy who was like who can even out strength those guys. So if you see Islam Makhachev being stronger than those guys, then I think Islam just ragdolls everyone then. So yeah, we just need to see Islam first. We just need to see how physically he comes up against those guys. And yeah, guys, I think Islam is more technical. I am pretty sure like Islam is the best fighter in the world right now. I think Islam is more technical than any guy in the weight division. I think it's more technical than Hamza. It's more technical than Duplessis, Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker. If you're looking at like a complete fighter, I think Islam is a better fighter than all the middleweights. He's going to be faster than all the middleweights. The only thing that I'm not sure about is strength. Islam is a pretty strong guy for his weight class. I don't think he's going to be able to do that to middleweights.